Hey there, sleepy one. Before we start, dim the lights, grab a warm drink. Tonight we're going somewhere dark. No, not metaphorically dark. Historically dark. We're heading back to 1692, colonial Massachusetts, land of Puritans, pointy hats, and deeply questionable moral panics. And guess what? You're not just a tourist in time. You're about to become the intern to a very real, very sarcastic, very tired witch. Welcome to Salem. Don't say anything weird. Actually, just don't say anything. Ever. Before we proceed, comment down below from where you're joining us tonight, and also press that haunting red button. Let's begin. You wake up face down in the grass. There's a twig in your mouth. Your clothes are damp. You're 99% sure something bit you. And somewhere nearby, someone is yelling about Satan. Great. You sit up slowly and take in your surroundings. Dense woods, a rickety wooden fence, a small village just beyond the trees, with smoke rising from a chimney and people running around yelling things like, "She touched the butter churn and the cow went dry." My daughter sneezed twice. It's witchcraft. The biscuits burned again. The devil walks among us. Okay, you're definitely not in 2025 anymore. You stumble into town. People are in full Puritan cosplay, except this isn't cosplay. They look tired, angry, terrified. You make the fatal mistake of making eye contact with someone. An elderly woman gasps. He emerged from the woods at twilight. He's cursed. You hold up your hands. No, I'm just lost and mildly confused, maybe a little dehydrated. They scream louder. Someone throws a turnip. Welcome to Salem. Where? The average age is 23, but everyone looks 60. The fashion is dirt-stained neutrals with bonus moral panic, and saying literally anything can get you arrested. You run. You duck behind a chicken coop. You crawl through a thicket, and you end up in a clearing. There's a small cottage with herbs hanging from the eaves, bones arranged in tasteful patterns, and a chicken that stares at you like it knows too much. A woman opens the door. She's tall. She's older. She's holding a staff made from driftwood and pure disappointment. She looks you up and down. You're not from here. You nod. Notice that. She sighs. Fine. You're mine now. I needed an intern. You blink. Intern? She tosses you a burlap satchel full of dried mushrooms, chalk, and something that might be a finger. First lesson, don't question anything. Second lesson, avoid eye contact with geese. Congratulations, you've just been unofficially hired by Salem's least subtle witch. You still don't know where you are, how you got here, or how to pronounce tincture. But she feeds you something warm and weirdly spicy, gives you a blanket made from repurposed curtains, and lets you sleep by the fire outside the villagers' chant. Inside, you curl up and whisper to yourself, "This is fine, this is totally fine." It's not fine, it's Salem, and it's only going to get worse. Morning. If it is morning, hard to tell in a place where the shadows move before the sun does. You wake up to the smell of burnt sage, damp moss, and something that might be soup or a hex in liquid form. You sit up in your makeshift bed, which, to be clear, is a sack of straw stitched together with string and stubbornness. The pillow is suspiciously warm, and you're choosing not to ask why. Your blanket smells like rosemary, wet dog, and ambition. The cottage around you is the exact opposite of anything OSHA would approve. There are stacks of books that hum quietly, shelves of bottles filled with glowing things, a broom that twitches whenever you look at it directly, a suspicious corner labelled absolutely not for intern use, and hanging from the rafters, bundles of herbs, tiny cloth bags, dried beetles in decorative jars, and one single sock that hisses if you touch it. A note is pinned to your chest. Yes, your chest. It reads, "Gone to curse the price of barley. Do not open any jars, especially the singing ones." MM. You look around. You hear singing. You do not investigate. Instead, you try to be useful. Because hey, you're an intern now. You attempt to sweep the floor. The broom bites you. Light the hearth. The fire lights itself, grumbling. Brew tea. You spill something labelled foxglovish, and the steam starts telling you riddles about your childhood trauma. You pour it out. Just then, the door creaks open. In floats your mentor, the witch. She smells like pine, regret, and sharp mint. Her cloak is damp, her staff is steaming, and she's holding a basket full of mushrooms that appear to be whispering secrets to each other. "You're still alive," she says. "Mostly," you reply. She looks at your tea attempt, your failed sweeping, and your tea-stained shirt. You'll do. She teaches you your first real task, sorting ingredients. Easy, right? Except there's a pile of roots that rearrange themselves every time you look away. A jar of undead parsley, and one vial that keeps trying to scoot off the shelf like it has somewhere very urgent to be. You label a jar incorrectly and it starts hissing at you in Latin. You learn to respect the jars. She puts you to work grinding herbs, mortar and pestle stuff. You feel useful until you sneeze, and the powder puffs into a cloud that forms the word Y in midair before dispersing dramatically. "Congratulations," she says. "You've made sentient oregano." You apologize. The oregano forgives you. You think. After lunch, which is mostly roots, weird bread, and a suspiciously intelligent goat watching you chew, she gives you a tour of the cottage. The kitchen has 8 ladles and 0 rules. The library is one shelf and one very moody spell book that flaps if you touch it too fast. The closet is a portal to somewhere cold and whispery, and you are told very firmly never to go in there. She hands you a spell scroll. You ask, "What's this for?" She replies, "If you're ever on fire, scream this. It might help. No promises." You tuck it carefully into your boot. The day drags on in a haze of bizarre chores. You collect dew from the north side of a fern that may or may not be judging you. You count exactly 207 beetle shells for a dream charm and drop the last one, which rolls into a crack and explodes. You help sweep bones into a circle for a very normal spell, while the goat mutters math formulas. By sunset, your hands smell like resin. Your clothes are stained with about 4 types of tincture, and you've been slightly electrocuted by an amulet. Twice. You collapse into your weird straw bed. Your blanket hisses once, then settles. The fire purrs, and just before sleep you hear her say, softly as if surprised, "Not bad for a futureling." You smile, because somehow that felt like praise. It's the 3rd day of your internship. You step outside the witch's cottage, bundled in a cloak that smells like time and mild regret, and notice something odd. The birds stop chirping, the goats freeze mid-chew, and a child 50 yards away drops her bread and runs screaming back into town. You haven't even cursed anyone yet, unless you count the scone incident, but That was barely a charm and only made the baker hallucinate a jazz band in his root cellar. For 15 minutes, tops. You walk with the witch into town. It's market day. There are bread sellers, candle hawkers, someone aggressively marketing onions as pestilence-free, and every single person makes the sign of the cross when you pass. You wave. They flinch. You say good morning. Someone drops a radish and screams, "It speaks!" The witch sighs. You're popular. I'm terrifying. Same thing in this town. You try to blend in. You help arrange herbs at the stall. You pet a chicken. You avoid eye contact with the local pastor who seems deeply concerned about your soul and or haircut. But it's no use. You've become a symbol of fear, of magic, of that time the moon glowed blue and someone's soup boiled backwards. The baker, bless him, tries to break the tension by offering you a muffin. You reach for it. It levitates. Not high, just enough. He drops the tray and whispers, "It is risen, before I baked it." Back at the cottage, the witch makes tea and smirks. Well done. I wasn't trying to become a folk legend. Too late. You've already been nicknamed. What is it? The Muffin Wraith. You sigh. Deeply. You decide to fix this. You offer free services. You bless goats. You dehaunt a well. You perform one musical incantation that accidentally teaches a parrot Latin. Instead of calming people down, it terrifies them more. The villagers start leaving gifts on your doorstep again. But now it's different. Salt circles, carved dolls with very large eyes, one potato wearing a tiny hat and labelled "to appease the intern." You mention this to the witch. She cackles. That one's a compliment. Hat means respect. At night, you sit at the porch. The stars blink gently overhead. You sip tea made from something the witch called dream leaves, and quietly hope it isn't literal. And even though your name is whispered like a warning, you feel oddly seen. You're not feared because you're dangerous, you're feared because you're weird. And weird, it turns out, is powerful. So, being feared by an entire 17th century village? Turns out it's a slippery slope. Yesterday you were the strange one with the unpredictable muffins. Today, someone just bowed. Like, fully. Hands clasped. Forehead to dirt. You tried to tell him to stop. He asked if the mud was sacred. You said, "No, it's just mud." He gasped. "It speaks in riddles." You go into town hoping to reset the narrative. A little smile, some non-levitating bread, maybe a helpful spell that doesn't open a pocket dimension in someone's soup. You bring a charm for a sick child, a simple warmth spell. You whisper it gently, following every instruction, and the kid floats 6 inches off the bed and glows like a light bulb. The child is delighted. The parents faint. The next day, someone paints a symbol of you on the side of the barn. It's not accurate. Big eyes, flaming cloak, what appears to be laser hands. The caption reads, "The intern, bringer of fire and unexpected healing." You consider denying it, but the witch just hands you a cup of tea and says, "Don't fight it. Own the myth." So you do. Sort of. You visit a group of weavers who claim their looms haunted. You politely ask the ghost to leave. It politely declines. You bake it a cake. It accepts and vanishes into a puff of sugar and guilt. Now the weavers pray to you before every stitch. Then the town blacksmith brings you a horseshoe. For protection, he says. Also, would you consider blessing my forge? You do, and accidentally make it self-cleaning. His productivity triples. He builds a sign, "Shoes by the intern's flame." By the end of the week, someone names a goat after you. A baby is baptized using water you once sneezed near, and a group of teens forms a secret intern circle that chants awkwardly behind the general store. You try to talk to the witch about it. She just laughs. When people don't understand something, they either try to burn it or build a shrine. What if I don't want a shrine? Too late. There's a whole altar of baked goods behind the apothecary. You begin to realize legends aren't born from facts. They're born from fear, coincidence, and really solid muffin game. You haven't been careful. You've been visible. And in Salem, that's enough. That night you sneak into the village to look at the mural. Someone's added stars behind your head. You should feel flattered. Instead, you feel like a target. You hurry home before anyone sees you cry. You've been living here for days now. You know the witch's favourite mug. You know the drawer where she keeps emergency frogs. You've accepted that at least one of the chairs is haunted, but very polite about it. Still, there are places in the cottage you're told not to go, like the hallway that only appears on Wednesdays, or the drawer labelled for when it all goes wrong, do not preview, or the cupboard near the stove that's always breathing. Naturally, you go exploring, because you're curious, and possibly a little reckless. And let's be honest, you're not exactly great at following rules. You wait until the witch leaves to collect nightshade from the fog field. You sneak into the kitchen, and there it is. That door. The one behind the curtained pantry. The one no one ever talks about. You open it. Behind it, a stairway. Dusty. Narrow. Smells like cinnamon, moss, and déjà vu. The walls are too close together. The steps groan like they're remembering something. You descend. The temperature drops. Your breath fogs. Your candle flickers, even though there's no wind. At the bottom, a room. Stone walls, no windows, lit only by a faint glow from somewhere that has no source. And in the centre, a mirror. Not a regular mirror, because your reflection doesn't copy you. It watches you, tilts its head, mouths something you almost recognise. You step back. There's a desk. On it, a bundle of faded letters, a twisted wand wrapped in copper wire, a small orb full of starlight, a sealed envelope with your name on it. Your full name, including the middle one you never tell anyone. You reach for it. Creak. Footsteps. She's behind you. The witch doesn't yell, doesn't curse. She just sighs and says, "You weren't ready to see this." Then why is my name on it? Because you always open the door eventually. Curious people never stay away. She walks into the room like it remembers her, touches the orb, brushes dust off the desk. This is a forgetting room, she explains, where the things we don't want to face go. Failed spells, broken time, lost selves. You asked the question that's been burning since you arrived. Was I supposed to be here? No, she says, but that doesn't mean you're not meant to be here. She tells you this room connects to the in-between. The space between moments, between years, between choices. That's where magic really happens, and danger, and sometimes both. You sit, you open the envelope, inside, a single phrase. When the fire comes, don't run, kneel. You shiver. You ask what it means. She says, "You'll know, just hope it's not soon." Later you crawl back upstairs. The candle is low, The floor creaks differently now. Even the broom seems quieter. You're not afraid. But something's changed. Something's cracked open in you. And once it's open, it doesn't close. The air has changed. Not temperature, tone. Like the town has collectively taken a deep breath and decided to hold it. For weeks. You notice it in the little things. The way people close shutters just a little faster when you pass. The silence between greetings. The blacksmith no longer tips his hat. He just stares. Even the goat seems tenser. Which is saying something considering he once gave you unsolicited career advice in a dream. The witch knows it too. She sharpens her staff. Quietly. Carefully. It's time, she mutters. For what? For the part where they turn on each other. And us. You wake the next morning to the sound of shouting. Not angry, organised. You step outside and you see them. A procession. Townfolk gathered, armed with torches and moral certainty. At the front, a judge, imported, fresh wig, dead eyes. He raises his hand and the crowd goes still. In light of recent afflictions, improper bread risings, prophetic goats, and divine muffins, we must seek truth, through trial. You whisper to the witch, he just blamed baked goods. First it's bread, then it's blood, she replies. They read names aloud. Accusers step forward. One man says his pig gave him side-eye after you walked past. A woman claims her soup refused to boil, a sure sign of hexing. A boy says you looked at his kite and it tangled mid-air, clearly unnatural. Then it's your name, loud, clear. The intern? You wince. Even now. They won't call you by your actual name. Just the title they gave you. The symbol. The myth. You're brought before the magistrate. Your boots drag in the dirt. Your hands sweat. Your heart beats in ancient languages. The judge asks, do you admit to disturbing the balance of nature? I made a goat smarter. Do you consort with unnatural forces? You glance at the witch. She's sipping tea. Define unnatural, you say. The crowd gasps. They bring a witness, the baker. She made my muffins float. They were excellent, you offer. They were cursed with levity, he shouts. You resist the urge to ask if he meant comedy or physics. Next witness, the child who floated. He smiles at you. She made me dream in colour. His mother slaps his arm. He means nightmares. They were nice, the boy insists. You're not being tried. You're being scapegoated, roasted slowly over the kindling of shared hysteria and mild breakfast trauma. The judge clears his throat. Do you confess? To what? Being inconvenient? He leans forward. To being unnatural. You think about it. You think about the glowing spells, the friend you made in the goat, the witch who somehow trusts you, the mirror room, the fire that's coming, and you say, no. Then you're guilty, he replies. They don't burn you, not yet. They just watch, stare, wait, like the fire is already lit in their heads, and it's only a matter of time. That night, the witch bandages your hands, even though you're not hurt. It's symbolic, she says. They want your hands. Don't let them take your work. You nod and fall asleep. Slowly. You wake up with a mission. You've been called unnatural. You've been nearly tried for muffin levitation. You've been whispered about like a walking plague wrapped in herbs. So naturally, you decide it's time to fix things. You're going to do good. You're going to prove that you're helpful. The witch gives you a look. Good intentions are the first ingredient in a cursed pie. You ignore her. Your first stop, old Agnes. She's been limping for weeks. She won't accept help from anyone except her three-legged cat and the moon. You bring her a salve made from honey, comfrey, and a tiny pinch of something glowing that you swear wasn't glowing when you crushed it. You apply it to her ankle. She sighs. The swelling goes down. Her cat starts speaking in verse. Agnes claps. The cat demands its own shelf in the library. Next, the twins whose chickens keep laying cubes instead of eggs. You mutter a reversing charm. The chickens stop laying cubes. Instead, they start laying full loaves of sourdough. Delicious, terrifying. A crowd gathers. Someone cries. A man kneels before a hen. You're halfway through blessing a cow's trough when you hear a woman scream, "My child is floating again." You rush to help. The child is fine, delighted actually. He's playing tag with the clouds. But the villagers, they're panicking. By sundown, people are whispering again. Not in fear, not in awe, in confusion. Did you hear? The intern cured Agnes, but also made a chicken lay bread. Is that better? You return to the cottage, exhausted and covered in herbs and flour. The witch raises an eyebrow. You've made things worse, haven't you? No. I mean, yes, but in a helpful way. She pours you tea. It's glowing. You don't ask. That night the council sends a messenger. He doesn't knock. He stands in your yard and shouts, "There will be a town meeting tomorrow." You shout back, "I'm not good at meetings." He drops a parchment and sprints. You're summoned. Not for punishment, for explanation. They want you to answer for the cube eggs, the sourdough hens, the cat poetry, and, according to the Reverend, a general aura of unsettling potential. You stand at the podium, made of creaky wood and centuries of bad decisions. You say, "I was trying to help." The judge narrows his eyes. That's what the devil says too. You blink. Has anyone asked him to clarify? Laughter. Nervous. Thin. But it happens. The blacksmith chuckles. The baker smirks. Even Agnes mutters, "Well, the bread was still warm." You're dismissed. Not cleared. Not forgiven. Just released. Like a spell that didn't quite finish. Back home, the witch says nothing. She hands you a small velvet pouch. Inside, a talisman. It pulses with warmth and warning. "For when they come again," she says. You nod, because deep down, you know this isn't over. You tried to help, and all it did was make you more real, more powerful, more visible, more dangerous to people who prefer their world small and explainable. And that scares them more than any curse ever could. The town quiets, not because things are better, but because they've decided how they feel about you, and they're hoping it passes like a cold wind. You keep your head down, sort herbs, sweep floors that sweep back, avoid mirrors that linger too long. But inside, you're spiraling, because the town might be waiting, but so is the letter. You've carried it for days now, folded, unopened, written in your handwriting, but clearly not by you, still warm to the touch, like it remembers who held it last. You've held it in your hand, put it down, picked it up, stared at it while it hummed faintly against your chest. Tonight, you open it. You light 3 candles, draw a small circle in salt, set a cup of tea on the floor beside you, just in case you need something warm when the universe breaks. The letter reads, "You've made it farther than I expected," which is impressive, considering how many times you've tripped. You're scared. Good. Stay that way. Fear means you're awake. You blink. It's definitely your handwriting, but it's different, sharper, older, like it's written by a version of you who knows how the story ends. You keep reading. You weren't sent here. You cracked through, fell sideways, because part of you knew something was broken. In you, in time, in the way you let others decide who you are. Let them fear you. Let them call you names. You weren't born to be burned. You were born to remember what the fire is for. You stop. Sit with it. The wind presses against the cottage walls like it wants in. You sip tea, the cup is warm. The room is still, and you feel different. Not healed, but anchored. You turn over the letter. There's a symbol drawn on the back, one you've seen in the mirror room, etched into the desk, carved faintly into the witch's staff. You touch it. It glows. Footsteps. The witch enters silently. She sees the letter, nods like she's been waiting for this. Well, she says, now you're one of us. One of who? She shrugs. People who know better than to trust straight lines, or official histories. She sits beside you, doesn't say much. Just sips her tea and leans her shoulder gently against yours. You whisper, it's all real, isn't it? All the nonsense, all the magic, all the versions of me. She smiles. Of course it is. The world was never logical. You just learned how to look sideways. Outside, the wind stops pushing. Inside, the candles flicker, and you understand something now. This isn't just Salem. It's a hinge point. Between past and future. Between fear and fire. Between the you that was and the you that's becoming. You put the letter away. Not because you're done with it, but because you don't need to read it again. It's written in your bones now. The town has made up its mind. You can feel it in the way the sky looks different, like it's leaning in, holding its breath. There's something ceremonial about the quiet this morning. Not peace, just pause before the storm. The witch doesn't say anything when you wake. She just hands you your cloak, the deep one, the one that smells like old magic and damp earth, the one you've never worn in public. You'll need it, she says. You don't ask why. You already know. Outside, smoke curls in the air, but nothing's on fire, not yet. It's just practice, dry runs, warm-ups, villagers testing torches, sharpening rhetoric like knives. They aren't whispering anymore, they're chanting. The town square has changed. There's a platform, a rope, and worse, a crowd that feels justified. The judge stands again, that same powdered wig and eyes like cold wax. He calls your name. You walk forward, not because you want to, but because there's no hiding left. They begin listing your crimes, unnatural miracles, spellcasting without license, sourdough sorcery, encouraging chickens to develop god complexes. You try to speak. They raise their voices. You altered the village. You disrespected the natural order. My bread levitated, the baker again. Still mad. This isn't justice. It's theatre. It's fear in a costume shouting over common sense. But then, someone steps forward. Agnes. Old, frail, firm. Her potion saved my leg, she says. The pain is gone, and I didn't even explode. Then the child you levitated. She helped me fly, the judge glares. She defied God. The child shrugs. It was awesome. You glance across the crowd, some shift, some frown. A few start to think, and that's all you need. You take out the letter, the one you've memorized, the one written by your future or fractured self. You read, let them fear you, let them misunderstand you, but never let them forget you stood when the fire came. The judge waves a hand. Enough. He orders your arrest. The guards move. You raise your hand, and the witch's staff, the one she handed you, humming with stored years, pulses once, just once. A gust of wind bursts through the square. Torches flicker. The crowd gasps. The judge stumbles back. You speak, not loud, just enough. I'm not the danger here. You are. You're burning what you don't understand. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, someone drops their torch. Another walks away, then another, until half the square is empty. The others stay, angry, confused, but not quite sure anymore. You turn to the judge. If you're going to punish me for helping, do it. But know this, I'll haunt your wheat. He blinks. What? Exactly. You leave before they recover. Back at the cottage, the witch waits. Hands you tea. Doesn't say anything. Just nods. You sit in silence. Tea cooling. Fire steady. And for the first time in weeks, you feel something like safety. You didn't escape the fire. You walked through it. And on the other side, you're not just someone they fear. You're someone they'll remember, even if they forget your name. The trial is over. Not because you were cleared, not because they changed, but because they don't know what to do with you anymore. Too strange to punish, too real to ignore, too useful to burn. And so, they leave you alone, for now. You walk through the village the next morning and no one meets your eye. Not out of malice, out of confusion. They expected a demon, a threat, a tale with a clean ending. What they got was you. Bread haunting, goat charming, slightly sparkly you. You visit the baker. He nods, hands you a loaf. No words exchanged. But this one doesn't float. That's progress. You stop by Agnes's. Her ankle is strong. Her cat is writing a manifesto. She waves from the porch. The intern returns. You laugh. Retired now. You sure? You're not. Not even close. Back at the cottage, the witch is packing. Not to leave, just to shift. When magic ripples, she moves with it. She hands you a satchel. Inside, a compass that doesn't point anywhere real. A vial of starlight sealed with thread. A note, folded small, tied with lavender. You'll know when to read it, she says. Will I see you again? You always do, eventually. The wind picks up and you feel it. A change, not outside, inside, like something uncoiling in your chest. Not fear, not purpose, just motion. The mirror in the secret room glows. The letter in your cloak hums. And a shimmer appears in the air, barely visible, like heat rising from a summer road. You step toward it. Where are you going? The witch asks. You shrug. Forward. She nods, doesn't smile, doesn't cry, but she whispers, kneel when the fire comes, run when the river sings, and for God's sake avoid 17th century dentists. You take one last look at the cottage, at the place that tried to burn you, and accidentally became your first home. You step into the shimmer. You land softly, in a place that smells like static and lilac. Your hoodie's back. Your boots feel heavier, and in your pocket, a spoon, still cursed. You smile. Outside your apartment window, the city moves fast. Noise, light, buzz. But you've seen slower, older things. You sit and write. Not a memoir, not a spell book. Just a list of all the ways you survived, of all the things you became. Because history won't remember your name, but it will feel your shape, your ripple, your myth. A strange, quiet force. Not burned, not broken, just different. and beautifully inconvenient. You're home. The floor doesn't creak beneath spells. The spoons stay in their drawer. The tea doesn't whisper secrets or taste like prophecy. It's all normal. And that's what feels strange now. You walk through your apartment, noticing little things. A half-burned candle that flickers for no reason. A forgotten feather in your bag. A bundle of dried herbs you know wasn't there before. You smile, because magic always leaves residue. You brew tea, not because you need to, just because it feels right. You sit by the window, mug in hand, looking out at the neon, the cars, the flickering traffic lights. But behind it all, you swear you see the edge of a forest, just for a second. Then it's gone. You've changed. You still pay bills. You still forget your passwords. But deep down, you know spells now. One's made of stubbornness, compassion, and just the right kind of weird. You survived 1692, not just the fire, but the fading. That slow erasure they try to do to people like you. Different, inconvenient, deeply inconvenient people. But they didn't erase you. You left a trail. One the witches of tomorrow will follow like breadcrumbs dipped in starlight. Somewhere, in a cottage where the roof leaks in specific patterns, where the mirrors murmur names only at midnight, where the goat still wears glasses, a new intern arrives, just as lost, just as strange, just as accidentally legendary. Because timing doesn't forget people like you, it just waits until the world needs you again.